Okay, so here I am with my model in ZBrush, and this is just my basic model. I have not done any sculpting on it. And today I'm going to do a demonstration on how to approach the idea of painting that dinosaur and setting him up here in this space, maybe position it somewhere here on my screen. And how to make it blend in the illustration that I have there. The illustration is based on actually an actual location, existing location in the world, and I'm just trying to get this kind of waterly, painterly look on my ZBrush project. So to get started, this model is right now is subdivision 3 level. I may have to crank it up to subdivision 4 so that my texture is a bit stronger. But for now, I'm going to keep it at that. And one of the things that I want to do here is, first of all, bring in my image just so that I can have a reference of positioning it. And that way I can try getting my first, I'm going to try to frame my guy somewhere here like this. And I'm going to go and say to bring my image from the texture. And down here, there is on there my, let's see if I can keep it open here. At the bottom of this texture window, there is an image plane section here. And let's see if I can go down there. Let me just actually click on the texture on the little icon right here. So that launches here on the side. And now I see my image plane down there. So I'm going to click on it, and that allows me to load an image. Normally, you want to capture the size of the image. That is not that clear how much. You can read the help if you want. The help will get you a bit of that description of how this works. I'll skip through this, but normally you have to set the size first before you load the image. It's not backwards. So I'm going to load my image, and to do that, actually, you have to click on it twice to get. Right now, I click load, and it did load an image, but that image was an image that I had selected under my textures by accident. So I don't want to do that. When I want to go and load the image that I have, my painting actually is under my Maya folder, and my source images folder. There is my background painting. There it is. All right, and that just comes in. And again, this image is going to be used only for reference purposes, nothing else. Of course, my dinosaur is going to be positioned somewhere there. And my hope is that I can start painting on it. I'm going to just go back up here and then just get off this. And then I can just bring this guy back. Let's see, I can get this guy back to its location. There, double clicking on it is when you get it to close there. All right, so I'm going to go and use my paintbrush. If you remember, we're going to use the paintbrush. That will allow you to, let's say, my paint. It's already here upstairs, so I have it selected. That's why I don't see it on here. So you will find it somewhere here. The paint is right there. Paint. So the paint will automatically activate your RGB and your alpha if you want to use your alpha. And in this case, I want to use my alpha. Let me minimize this for a moment because I created under my asset to use, I created this little swatches of I took them from actually an existing watercolor image, actually from the a segment on a kind of splash of a brush, kind of a bit rough, with the intention of let me see if I can just show it. I think it's a 256 by 256 pixels image, and I made 2 of them. And I saved them as PNGs with a clear, transparent background in Photoshop, so that I can come here. I'm going to bring them as an alpha. I'm going to say import them, and let me here go for looking for my files there. I'm going to load this one. I made them black and white. That way I can use them. So I'm going to use this one already, which seems to be a bit better. I can load both of them, I think. I'm gonna open them up, and then of course the one gets selected, the other one probably got added to it. I had used it before, so you can tell. So I can use either one or the other one. And here with my paintbrush, if I press my before I do that, let me change my material here. I'm gonna go to my skin shaded, that way I get to a white looking guy. And you remember that when you paint the guy, you're not going to paint everything perfectly. You're gonna try to do like a brush, like a rough paint on it, and we're gonna be sampling color from the background. So to sample, you're gonna use your C, and your C is sampling the color. Right now it's applying it to the whole model. I don't want that. Sampling whatever color I get is getting applied it. But my sample is every time I go C, my palette changes it. That's why it's applying the color to my guy. In order to correct that, I'm gonna go back up here. I'm gonna go under my subtool. I'm gonna make sure that I can paint on my object so it goes back to white. That way I am not applying now that, as you see, yeah, my palette, you can see my colors changing, but I am not doing anything else. So I'm gonna start using some of the color that I got here. I'm gonna try using some of this kind of semi-greenish tone, and you can use spray, or you can use just like a quick dragging first, just to see how that plays on my guy. So you can see how I can I'm clicking, just clicking. That way I can do rough painting on it. If you paint on the background, you see that I'm painting on the background by accident. I just do a little swatch right there, but that's just because it's just roughly a little thing that is that's there. The other option you have here is painting using your object. I'm gonna do a little bit of a I'm gonna change my stroke and my lazy mouse. Already using one smooth lazy radius. I'm gonna crank that up a little bit, and I'm going to change my modifier a little bit. I'm gonna just stroke jitter, that way it makes it a bit more imperfect. And I'm just, this brush imperfection allows it to kind of be blurrier, and so now I'm painting I think my lazy brush went too much, and maybe my modifiers I went too far with my changes here. All right, there it is. It's gonna do a little bit better. So it's kind of, so I'm gonna start kind of brushing downwards, getting little regions. I don't have my mirror turned on, but I'm gonna press X so I can have my mirror activated. I'm not seeing it working though. There it is working now. All right, so I am going to start, now that I have made more sense now, I'm gonna start kind of painting on him quickly, getting some of that kind of splotchy, again going C, and sampling a bit like a different tone here, and paint some of it more. And of course, you know, I can doing a quick little sampling here. Just trying to do a little bit of that. If you want to do you know, like a bigger brush, you can do so, of course, by changing the size of your brush, and that way you can have a bigger patches applied. I don't want to do it all because I don't want to block my whole guy with some of those splashes. Maybe a little bit too big now. So I want to be covering some of it. I'm going to go C again, grab a different tone. Let me see, I got darker tone. I'm going to try to apply some of these dark spots at the bottom towards his belly, maybe between his legs. And then maybe paint some of pressing Alt, moving him around. It's a little bit hard to try to paint on him. I'm gonna try to move him up with Alt. I'm gonna zoom in here now, try to rotate around a little bit. Oh, it seems that it kind of slow down. Let me see if I can just save my file. I'm gonna save it just in case Dino Paint. I was kind of using already here. I'm gonna replace that one. All right, hopefully I can start working on it again. Okay, zoom in on my rotation tool. I'm gonna frame it here, rotate. All right, let me see if I can use my tools here. For some reason, my tool is not working, but I'm gonna try to continue working on it right now. For some reason, I lost the manual hotkeys for it. So let me just paint on it right now and just try to use, I'm using a darker tone here to paint his feet. It's kind of funny because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. All right, I'm trying to get there. Heavy paint in a few other areas. I'm gonna change my brush to the other one that I have brought in here just to help make a variation a little bit better. I'm gonna frame it here and then zoom in, move up. I'm gonna start putting some extra noise here, maybe some extra there. This is when I'm gonna change the color. I'm gonna go and use a Alt-C to sample a different tone here. Frame, rotate. Getting the idea there. I'm gonna try to do some of that. I'm trying to go and sample again this tone and try to do some of his tail the same way. I'm kind of filling in. You can do a much better job in yours. I'm trying to get mine kind of moving here fast as possible so I can get my guys semi-textured and so I can show it. All right, I'm gonna try to get him a little bit more like a cooler look on his back and maybe his head. I'm gonna try to grab some of this greenish tone. I'm gonna try to go to some of the dirt tone here. I'm gonna change my brush a little bit so that it's smaller. That way I can go to his mouth and paint a bit more of his mouth. Let me change some of the settings under the texture, under the stroke. I'm gonna just change my lazy. I'm gonna bring it closer now. Bring my radius down a tiny bit more. All right, so I'm gonna do it a little bit, it's a bit too small, a little bit bigger. All right, there. I'm gonna frame him again. Now I'm gonna start adding a bit more contrast to it. Right now it's too dark. See again, sampling a dark spot somewhere here. Like that. All right, so this will give me some sampling that try to paint on him some darker spots at the bottom. And move him up a little bit. And his little feet. Maybe I'm gonna just change the tone here and go to a semi-brownish tone here. Maybe I'm gonna try to use that one, but I'm gonna darken it up a little bit more and get a bit reddish. Try to paint kind of like a semi-tail. All right, and maybe get a bit of a darker tone on his face. And then his mouth, I'm gonna just even darken it up a bit more. Again, the idea is not to make it perfect because it's supposedly kind of watercolorish. I'll try to get his crest with a little stronger tone. Sometimes the tool doesn't let you rotate. And then go back down to a tone that somehow I modify a little bit there. All right, getting there. I just frame my guy, rotate around a little bit here. Let's pretend this is him. I'm gonna save my file again. I could definitely do a better job painting him, and I think what I want to do is actually do a little bit of noise on him. Spread. I'm gonna use the different brush here again. I'm gonna try to use a wider tone, yellowish maybe. I'm gonna just change my brush size. And maybe put a little bit of spots on his back. Oh, too big. I'll just change it again. A little bit of this. All right, so that probably did a little too much of them, but I'm gonna undo that. I'm gonna change my size a bit more. It's too big. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, this one is a little bit better. I can try changing the average and the placement so that a bit more separated. So that's something just to change it a little bit more there. All right, so let me leave it like that. I'm gonna just save quickly here. Do an incremental save, my guy, 01, save it. And I'm ready to export it out to Maya. I'm going to do that in my next video.